It was a year after the attack by the Israelis, which failed, as all Israeli attacks now do, though with huge loss of life, called Operation Cast Lead. A year afterwards, the smoke from the white phosphorus bombardment by Israel was still fuming away. Scarcely any food is allowed to be brought in, so everybody, but particularly the young people and the children, are undernourished, which affects them so much that it will go on to future generations. They have hardly any fresh water, just for a few hours every 5 days, so they're diseased in that way. They have no fuel of their own, which means, apart from anything else, that a great deal of the transport now is by horse or donkey. There's hardly any electrical power. Indeed, on a recent summer, because there wasn't enough electricity for air conditioning in nearby Tel Aviv, they cut off the electricity in the Gaza Strip, and Qatar had to intervene and see what it could do, which wasn't enough. No building materials are brought in, so that the schools that the Israelis destroyed, in some cases with children in them, cannot be rebuilt. Medical facilities are at their minimum. If any other country on earth was doing what the Israelis have been doing to 1.7 million Palestinians in Gaza, there will be United Nations resolutions, there will be calls for intervention, there will be sanctions, but the Israelis literally get away with murder. I grew up a supporter of the State of Israel. I was brought up as a Zionist. I went to Israel again and again and again on holiday. I had family there, I had friends there. But as I traveled around, because it's a small area, I would see not just Israelis in Israel living in huge comfort, subsidized by the Americans. I would see settlers in the illegal settlements living in huge comfort. And minutes away, I would go to a Palestinian township or village and see sewage flowing through the streets. The disparity is unacceptable. And it's got worse. It's got worse and worse and worse the whole time. The Israelis have a very high first world standard of living. That standard of living depends partly on huge financial subsidies by the United States under the spineless Barack Obama, and every politician pretty well in the United States yields to the Jewish pressure groups, and that's why they daren't do anything about it, even if they wanted to do something about it. The European Union is inactive. The British government is inactive. The Prime Minister, David Cameron, described the Gaza Strip as a prison camp. But it so happened that he said that when he was visiting a Muslim country, Turkey, and wanted to ingratiate himself with his hosts. There's no point in condemning them. There's certainly no point in appealing to their better nature, because they don't have a better nation. You've got to make them suffer, because that's the only way they will feel anything. And economic sanctions would erode this huge first world standard of living which they enjoy on borrowed money. There is a huge difference between the apartheid that the Israelis are inflicting on the Palestinians and the loathsome and odious apartheid that existed in South Africa. There were distances, considerable distances, between Johannesburg, Cape Town, Durban, and the African townships. In Palestine, it's minutes between the settlements or between Israel behind the 67 borders and the hell that they've created in Gaza and on the West Bank. So it's worse. It's worse even than the foul actions of the South African apartheid government. The Israelis are stupid. The Israelis are balmy, complacent, and self-defeating to imagine that they can go on forever as they're going now.